There are things your soul knew long before your mind could accept. This connection, the one that won't leave your thoughts, the one that aches in your chest even when you're smiling, was written in a language older than time. That's why silence doesn't break it. It refines it. The angels are speaking now, and they say she was placed in his path as a mirror of his healing. Not to complete him, but to remind him who he is when he's no longer afraid. You feel him, don't you? Even when he vanishes. Especially when he vanishes. Because when something is real, the absence speaks louder than presence. You were never a coincidence in his life. You were the prayer he didn't know how to pray. And now he's listening. In the quiet, in the longing, in the invisible threads pulling him back to what he couldn't name, but always felt. This silence, this unbearable space between words, is sacred ground. It's where love becomes soul, where souls remember why they came. He's not just thinking of you, he's unlearning the world to understand you. Because loving you doesn't come from effort, it comes from recognition, and recognition always begins in silence. The angels leave one truth on your heart tonight. I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness. Jeremiah 31:3. You didn't imagine it. That moment when his eyes softened, when his words hesitated before reaching you, when something unspoken lingered between you, like a secret only your souls could hear. The angels say he feels more than he can understand, and that's why he runs. This is not rejection, this is resistance. Not because you are too much, but because the depth you awaken in him demands a courage he never had to find before. You didn't break him, you revealed him. He tries to return to the life he had before you, but something is missing. And no matter how much he tries to fill it with distractions, silence or distance, the ache remains. Because what he felt with you wasn't just love, it was soul remembrance. And soul remembrance doesn't fade, it waits. He fears losing himself in you, but the truth the angels whisper is this: he already has, and that's what terrifies him the most. Your love opened a door he can't close again, not without closing a part of himself too. So he pulls away, hoping the feeling will quiet. But all it does is echo louder. There's no map for what you two are, but what's real always finds its way back. Even if it stumbles, even if it hesitates, even if it fears. There were days he couldn't breathe, and yet somehow your presence, distant, quiet, unknowing, gave him air. The angels reveal a hidden truth. He saw your strength before he ever touched your hand. He felt your grace when you didn't even know you were shining. You were never invisible to him, even when he made you feel unseen. He watched how you held yourself together when life tried to tear you apart. He noticed how you smiled for others even when your heart felt empty. He heard the way you spoke with kindness, even when no one returned it. And in the stillness of his own confusion, he started to remember what it meant to believe in something real. You weren't loud. You didn't demand his attention. You didn't chase. You simply were. And that changed everything. Not because you tried, but because you are. He couldn't say it, not yet, but your light reached places in him even he was afraid to touch. The angels want you to know you were already healing him while you were still healing yourself. And that is a love this world does not often recognize, but heaven does. There's a moment the heart registers before the mind can speak, and he felt it. The shift in your energy, the quiet retreat, the space between what was and what you no longer gave. The angels say she didn't walk away in anger. She dissolved in silence. You stopped reaching for him in the unseen ways. stopped sending your heart ahead of your words, stopped whispering to the stars on his behalf. He may not say it aloud, but he noticed the warmth that once wrapped around his soul, even from a distance, has cooled, and now he sits in the hollow of what used to be constant. This is not revenge. This is sacred self-preservation. You didn't leave to punish. You left to breathe. But still, the imprint of your love lingers, in his routines, in his solitude, in the places you never physically touched, but emotionally claimed. Now he wonders what it meant, all of it. And the silence that once comforted him has turned into the loudest ache he's ever known. The angels whisper, he now understands what he lost. Not because you left, but because you were never his to possess, only to honor. And you, dear soul, you were not meant to be held. You were meant to be felt, deeply, endlessly, eternally. In sleep he lets go of control, and that's where you enter. The angels reveal, she walks through the gates of his unconscious, not as memory, but as message. Night after night, you visit him, not always in face, but in feeling. You arrive in metaphors, in symbols, in moments that bend reality. And when he wakes, there's a soft ache he can't name, a longing he doesn't understand, a warmth he both resents and craves. This is not coincidence. This is divine interference. He doesn't yet realize that his soul called for you, and you came, not with words, but with presence. You're the echo he thought he'd buried. You're the peace he feared he didn't deserve. You're the softness that shatters his armor every time. The angels are preparing him. They are loosening his fears through visions. They are reintroducing you in ways the mind cannot reject. And though he may dismiss it by day, his heart knows, because when the soul speaks, no logic can silence it. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Joel 2:28. Some things never find language, but they live anyway. The angels say, what you never said still lingers, and he still hears it. There were moments you almost confessed the depth of what you felt, not just in love, but in recognition. Moments when your eyes softened, your voice caught, and something holy hovered between you, waiting. But the words stayed silent, out of fear, out of timing, out of hope that he would speak first. He didn't, but that doesn't mean he didn't feel. He carries the unsaid like a letter folded inside his chest. And though life moved on, your energy never left. It lives in the way he replays your voice when the room is quiet, in the way certain songs stop him mid-breath, in the way he remembers your presence without ever trying to. The angels reveal, you gave him a love that didn't need proof, just presence, and presence never dies. It waits, patient, eternal, soft. So if you wonder whether you were felt, you were. Not in pieces, not in fragments, but fully. And even now, he's still reading the message you never said aloud. There's a grief inside you that whispers, I lost him. But the angels speak differently. No, beloved soul, you didn't lose him. He's shedding the shell of who he thought he had to be, to meet the soul you always saw. He's unraveling, not because of you, but because of how deeply you mirrored what he tried to forget. You saw the cracks in his armor and loved him anyway. You felt the storm behind his silence and stayed soft. You kissed the jagged edges of his heart without asking them to change shape, and that terrified him, because no one has ever made him feel more visible, and more unable to hide. The man who walked away wasn't whole. He was still stitched together by survival, not truth. But your love didn't feed his defenses, it melted them. And now he is disoriented, caught between who he was and who he's becoming. The angels say he's not gone, he's shedding, and becoming the man who can finally stay. So if it feels like loss, know it's not the end. It's the beginning of a return, not to you, but to himself. And that's the only way he'll ever truly find you again. Some journeys aren't chosen, they're remembered. The angels speak, before this life your souls made a promise, and now the time has come to fulfill it. He may believe he's deciding, weighing, questioning, calculating, but his soul already knows, and the steps he's about to take are not new. They are the continuation of a vow whispered between stars. You didn't chase him, you didn't beg, you became the stillness that called him home. Every delay, every detour, every silence has been part of the sacred alignment. Because what's destined doesn't arrive early, it arrives when the soil is ready. The angels are clearing the road. They are guiding his feet through shadows and doubt, until all that remains is what's true. He's closer than you think, not just in time, but in surrender. And when he finally steps into your light, he will remember why he never truly left. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Proverbs 3:6. You waited, not with desperation, but with devotion, not frozen, but growing. And now, as he returns, the angels whisper, do not dim your light just because he is learning how to see. He will come back softer, more honest, more open, but also more unsure, because he's stepping into the fullness of what he once feared, you. And here is the sacred truth. He's not the only one who has changed. You've bloomed in his absence. You've built altars within yourself. You've healed the places that once yearned to be chosen. You've rediscovered your own worth, not because he gave it, but because you found it again. Now the reunion might feel tender, raw, beautiful, but it will also ask something from you. To stay expanded, to remain rooted in your understanding, to greet him with love, but not at the cost of your own identity. The angels say, he is coming to honor you, but only if you remain whole. You were never meant to bend to be loved. You were meant to rise and to be met there. There are moments in life when heaven intervenes, not loudly, but unmistakably. You were one of those moments for him. The angels speak now, with solemn tenderness. She wasn't his wish, she was his rescue. You entered his life not as noise, but as clarity, not as a demand, but as a reflection. And though he didn't recognize it at first, his soul fell to its knees the moment it sensed yours. He didn't know how to love you, not then. Because love, when it's pure, reveals everything that isn't. And he had more fear than faith. But still, you stayed. Not to be his savior, but to be his mirror. And now that he sees, now that he understands what your presence meant, he's beginning to kneel within himself, not to worship you, but to thank God for the day you appeared. The angels leave this final seal upon your spirit. Before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear. Isaiah 65:24. You were the answer before the question. And heaven never forgets what it sent.